introduce ourselves. And so your name, your organization, and then maybe your organizational email or your email, just so that we know who is here, who is being represented. And whilst we do that, I would want to extend our appreciation and gratitude to the Federation of Disability Organizations for agreeing and accepting to facilitate today's session for us. For me, I'm really excited and looking forward to learn. I know we all talk about inclusiveness, leaving no one behind, but today we will hear from the federation that leads that charge when it comes to disability inclusion. So we will learn from them if what we have been doing is right, what we have been doing is not right, what are the areas we have to look at, and hopefully this will not be an end to the conversation, but just the beginning, so that going forward, we leave the mantra that we leave no one behind.
If I'm going somewhere,
thank you for joining. Please, you can circulate the invite to members in various networks, WhatsApp platforms, Facebook, Twitter, wherever. Please do so that we have as many people joining us to learn. So thank you so much, and then welcome to everyone. So, my name is Kwajo Owusu, as I initially said, and today's session, we hope to do that this between now and 12:30. We give ourselves 2 hours, but depending on how the conversation goes, I'm mindful of the tendency of doing a lot of Zoom meetings, so people may drift off. So if we are able to do this between an hour 30 minutes, an hour 45 minutes, so be it. We are not so much fixated on the duration. But the whole essence of the capacity building series is to leverage on the capacities that exist within the membership of the CSO platform on the pages. So members do a lot of things on different areas with different capacities. And so for a platform as huge as ours, this is an opportunity to learn from each other. As the scripture says, iron sharpness iron. This is an opportunity for us to build our own capacities, so that if we are talking of issues that pertain to our members or pertain to the areas we work, we know that we have been informed by expertise, information. So far we've done one on communication, we've done one on monitoring and evaluation. The youth sub-platform took a hint from us, and also did one on proposal development and grants making. We are doing today's own, which is on disability inclusion. We've already agreed one of our members to facilitate next month's session, and June session also been taken. So if you are here in your organization, wants to do or provide facilitation, kindly reach out, and then we can have that discussion. So thank you so much. And I will go ahead and introduce the speaker, the facilitator for today, and then I'll hand over to her and she will take us. Her name is Mrs. Gertrude Oforiwa Fefoame, and she is the Global Advocacy Advisor on Social Inclusion for Site Savers. She's also a member of the United Nations Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. She's the president of the International Council for Education of People with Visual Impairment. She's a board member of the Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations, and she's also a commissioner of the World Council of Churches. So we are not just here to listen to just anybody, but someone who is familiar with what she's going to talk about. So we are very, very much grateful to have Madam Gertrude speak with us. Madam Gertrude, please join us, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm having problems here. Hello, do you please hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
You can hear me. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your kind words. And thank you for this opportunity of highlighting disability for today. I would need a few more minutes. So we are using a PowerPoint presentation for everybody to participate, but I'm using a script from my laptop, and for some strange reasons, it's not opening yet. So may you give me some few minutes to try once more? Otherwise, we'll still go ahead, because as for the issues we have, certain specific is what we may not be able to get them word for word, like definitions and things like that. So may I crave your indulgence to give me some few minutes? I try once more. Thanks for your understanding and appreciation. Well, still, so let's see. I don't understand. I try once more, otherwise we'll not spend too much time waiting. Ah. Okay, it's not opening, so let's go on. Thank you for highlighting this opportunity where we would want to know, among other things, who GFD is, and it's important for us, what disability is. So we have some introduction to that. We want to talk about the concept of disability, models of disability. Would also share some appreciation with some existing frameworks, which helps us to understand disability inclusion well. And then we'll talk about what the CSOs, where civil society organizations come in, what we would wish to see doing with you. And we'll finalize with what GFD would seek to do in all this discourse. And apologies if the slides do not go along with me exactly, because I'm actually doing this extempo. So Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations is an umbrella organization which was formed as far back in 1987. And it was started by the collaboration of 3 organizations. That of the Ghana Physical Organization, the Ghana Society of Physical Disability, the Ghana Association of the Blind, now Ghana Blind Union, and the Ghana National Association of the Deaf. We are stressing the issue about organizations and GFD because I, Getty, can't set up an organization of or for people with disabilities. And I can let individuals join the organization. So all categories of persons with disabilities and persons without disabilities can join my organization. But it is not representing other organizations. The flavor of GFD is that it is a collaboration or a federation, as we call it, of other organizations. So as today, there are 9 of us. And I hope I should be able to remember them all. So this, the Society of Physically Disabled, the Ghana Association of the Blind, the Ghana National Association of the Deaf, Ghana Association of People with Albinism. We have the Bands of Survival. We have Share Care, which is more for neurological issues. We also have the Ghana Mental Health, the Mental Society of Ghana, and I hope I've not missed any. We are 9. We have representation in over 200 districts in Ghana, and we have linkages with other world organizations in Africa and global. Not saying verbatim, our focus is to seek for the inclusion of people with disabilities in Ghana and abroad, as our advocacy goes beyond Ghana. And we collaborate with international partners in our work. Having spent a bit of time on this, let's please look at what disability is. And here again, we will not have it verbatim, but I wish to bring elements from the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and also elements from the Ghana Disability Act, Act 715, which was passed in 2006. One big element of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the UNCRPD, that I'll use a short form going forward, is that it has the element of including. So it's an open-ended definition. And then it brings some categories, which I believe all the organizations of persons with disabilities will find themselves in, whether it is mental, intellectual, sensory, and all that. Then when we come to that of Ghana, it has some strong elements as well, but it's not open-ended like the one of the CRPD. It does also mention issues around sensory. It mentions the physical, and it mentions others. But another element of the CRPD is the emphasis on the interaction, the disability caused as a result of these individuals we have mentioned and their interaction with their society and environment, and the limitation it imposes, so that they are not able, or we are not able to perform on this, the equal rights with others, where the others are people without disability. The definition also has some elements, not explicit, and use it, and together you assist us to use it as we are also working on its revision. So having expressed this to give you some knowledge of what disability is and introducing the concept I have mentioned a couple of conditions, but I have emphasized the fact that it is not the condition that brings the disability, but the interaction with society, with environment, with people, with the systems is where the issues will come. There have been some research that brings us a couple of models that back the definitions we want to emphasize. And so Kwame or Priscilla moving with me, we are going to talk about the models of disability. On our screen, we will discuss, or we have the human rights model and the social model. But going forward, I would also want to talk about the medical model. So the human rights model, of course, having explained what I said a few minutes ago, emphasizes not the condition, but the interaction with the society. And so that's the social model. The emphasis is the barriers of communication, barriers of movement, barriers of accessing information, barriers of negative attitude, barriers of exclusion, barriers of discrimination, name them. Those are what these two models emphasize. So the issue is not me getting, because I don't see, that it's my issue. It is our issue, the issue of me and you, so that when I set out to move, I will not encounter impediments in my way. And similarly, if a person with burn survival or a person who is a stammer, one of our groups that I might have missed when I was mentioning the organizations. Let's discuss the medical model. God, that had lived with us for so long. And it's part of the reason why we are not able to shift to the human rights and the social model. Unlike the human rights and the social model, the medical model emphasizes the situation, the condition, the impairment, and leave the modification with the impairment, with the individual. So adjustment is left with the individual and with professionals to fix the problem. So it is a problem. I don't see, it's a problem. I don't hear, it's a problem. I don't speak well, it's a problem. I don't have the same skin tone like others, it's a problem. I cannot move, it's my problem. No, disability is not a problem. Disability is the diversity of nature that God has bring us in his own wisdom. Some people would move in a different way. Some people will see in a different way. So if professionals want to fix, and that is a concentration that this eye must see, and it doesn't see, it is great for you to come and see the disappointment in the life of the professional and the kind of negative impact it gets on the person who is being worked on, whether to get the limbs back or the neurological immunity back or whatever the situation is. That is the challenge of the medical model. And that is, unfortunately, where most people start from. When the the physician, the person says this, then it's like, go with your trouble. Intervention in some hospitals try to situate us in our, bringing us together in our understanding. Then I would want us to discuss this concept of inclusion. What are we talking about? Why are we stressing inclusion? What is the purpose of inclusion? We form a reasonable percentage of every community. And research has established that in most developing countries, about 15% of the population are persons with disabilities. We know that in Ghana, we have a different percentage. Yes, we have it because of what our census brought. And some of you who might have listened to me before would have heard me saying that when my husband asked the census officer that you have not finished asking the questions that you came to discuss with me in this house, here he had finished. My husband but said, you have not asked about disability. I said, oh, this nice house. How can there be a person with disability in this house? This is a census officer. But what about those of our families who, so they were not registered? And what about our own understanding and perception and definition of disability? So limited that I remember until recently, people say, no, Getty, don't say that you are a person with disability. No, but you don't look disability. Oh yes, your eyes don't see, but they look so great. Don't say you have a disability. I said, but who is a person with disability? I encountered the barriers. That's what I'm encountering now. There's a screen on that some of us are using, which I could have used for my presentation, but now, because I use a different medium, and for whatever had happened on my computer that I cannot explain, now I have to do this presentation extempo. Yes, it's beautiful, will not lose much or will not lose anything. But the fact remains that there's an intervention, there's a barrier that has not given me the same opportunity like some of you. So the census did not bring what was true. We are working with you and with the rights officials to improve the outcome of the next census. So moving on, if we ignore this 15% in our economic, in our social, political, religious, every facet of our life, just imagine the quantum of loss that we are doing to our community. That is why it is critical. It is important that persons with disabilities need to be included right at the start of every step of our lives. In policy development, whether it is state, in your individual organizations, even in your home. We don't call them policies, but there are practices in the home that if we make them disability inclusive, we go a long way the negative sentences and statements that we bring to the attention of our children so that they grow with negative attitude to persons with disability. That is the practice and policy in our home. If we change this, you're already going 25% of the issue. Staffing, training, program cycle, the beginning, the development, the intervention of monitoring, the reprogramming, it has to be inclusive. It also has to be inclusive in our reporting and data collection. And our data need to be disability sensitive. We call it data disaggregation. So we do our data, we do our reports, and we have left out persons with disabilities. At this point, I would also want to bring our attention that within persons with disabilities are more marginalized groups that we do not need to miss. There are marginalized groups among persons with disabilities like women, children, older people. They are more marginalized. So for instance, if we say that the presence of COVID-19 have increased violence in the homes, and women and children have experienced more violence as a result of it, then women and children with disabilities have experienced double of it. Because why? The experiences are people with disabilities who are already marginalized. And then as women, or as children, or as older people. Also among people with disabilities are some marginalized groups, such as those of Inclusion Ghana, the organization of people with psychosocial and intellectual disability, such as Mental Health Society of Ghana, such as the Stammering Association of Ghana. So people who are stammering, it's only recently that they're even being recognized. And when we talk about inclusion, some of our groups are more disadvantaged. So in our engagement, our encouragement is, please do not go for the low-hanging fruits. Do not go for those that are easy to include, but include every facet, ensure that diverse groups are included, and ensure the more marginalized age groups and the gender are all factored. Are there any frameworks that can support the work? Yes. Ideally, there should not have been separate frameworks. There should have been just an inclusive policy, inclusive act, inclusive program, inclusive reports, so that we don't come by looking for another separate, specific, targeted document or legislation or policy or program. But we haven't gotten there yet. We have had to advocate and push for that. Also, because sometimes people would want to find the way of how to do it. So if there's a legislation elaborating some of them, and if there's a framework, or if there's an LI, then one can pull it to use as a guide. So we have, like in our constitution, in Article 29, it talks about the people with disabilities. I have talked about the Ghana Disability Act 715. It gives us some guidance. If we look at SDGs and the indicators, it gives us some guidance. At least there are 8 specific ones that really state disability inclusion, but all the rest are clearly useful. We also have the Ghana Education Inclusive Policy that helps us to get the guidelines in making sure that everybody, children and adults, can go to the school in their nearest community, and how that has to be done. Do not tell me I should go to a residential school if I don't desire it. In fact, in our wish and in our advocacy, we would have wished you help us to ensure that residential schools remain to school with everybody. If everybody grew in the same community, in the same school, I'm sure the discrimination, the stigma would have reduced to the barest minimum. We also have the guidelines of disbursement of the disability, the district assembly disability. I've even forgotten the name now, but we have a guideline for that. So moving on, and I hope moderator is not already going to tell me, get ready to stop. Moving on, what can civil society organizations do? After all the story, that is where we want to know. I've said a bit of them in the previous discussion, but I want us to bring back that our civil society organizations, please do not want to be a separate organization focusing on disability before you start working on disability. No, please. Everybody, because every family, because every individual, because every person with disability in Ghana, we all owe a responsibility of making sure that they are receiving what is required for their development, for their participation, for their decision, for their interaction. Every civil society organization has a role to play. In your policies, ideally, your policy should have been enough to cover disability. But we know in practice, it has never happened much that without it being written in whatever form, it doesn't happen. So please, let be a column, a statement, a point, not when the important things have finished and then you leave one line. No, 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 no. Just at the priority level, you add disability, you add people with disability, you add the issues of disability, you add whatever you're focusing on disability. Policy development. Program development. Oh, let's wait. We have just gotten this funding. We don't even know how it will work. Now, if we bring in disability and it fails, what can we tell the funder? Please add disability at the funding development stage. But if for any reason we did not add it here and now, It is not going to let you lose your focus. It's going to add value to let you look. Why? Because once you try to address inclusion, you actually address diversity and well-being of the whole community, the whole group, the whole target audience, whatever you are looking at. That is what happens. Reporting I've mentioned. Do not leave one paragraph to report. Report along what happened to the women, to the girls, to the people with disabilities, with these variations and the good things and the what didn't work out well, put into the report. Data. Let your data stipulate how many people with disabilities. If it's women, let there be women and add women with disabilities within the women, because women, Getty, I'm first and foremost a woman. Disability, secondly. If it's children, add set of disabilities within the children. Let us embrace the understanding of humanity and inclusion. Who can help you get here? This discussion is not enough. It's just the beginning, the tip of the iceberg. So, who can help us? That is the Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations. The responsibility of Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations and their international partners and their collaborators abroad and some within is to offer the technical support that the CSOs, the state, the private sector, the chieftaincy groups, the volunteer groups, whatever will be able to manage. Sometimes the will is there, but the technical know-how is a bit challenging. When it is new, it is new. We can appreciate that it is new. So Ghana Federation of Disability Organization is more than willing. Is it a policy stage that you are? Is it an audit that you need to perform to find the gaps, to know what is existing and what is not yet be done? And it's a tool that you are looking for in terms of an inclusive knowledge. The Ghana Federation of Disability Organization and her partners and their member organizations, because sometimes the issue is for only one of the member organizations, and they will link you up. And though we are very small, we are so not well resourced, we will work with you and hopefully bring us to the desired destination, the objectives, the achievement, the goal that we're talking about. Before I end, I want to try and go over the 9 members again. This is important to us because there are so many different variations of organization, and it is not bad. No, Ghana has freedom of association, but this is a setup that is in Ghana. Its relationship is in Africa. Its relationship in the global, the International Disability Alliance. And so it is a mouthpiece, the recognized mouthpiece. So like when we are in the UN, there are various organizations of persons with disability, but we give International Disability Alliance a special space, a special place because of who they are and what they bring. The 9 again, I'll not try to look at my fingers. 1 Ghana Blind Union, Ghana Society of Physically Disabled, Ghana National Association of the Deaf, Ghana National Association of People with Albinism, Inclusion Ghana, Share Care, Burn Survival, Mental Health Society of Ghana, Stammerers Association. I can give myself a clap that I know my people. At this point, I will end, and Mr. Moderator, give the floor back to you for people to ask questions so we can interact. Thank you very much for the time. And apologies that I could not go directly to the PowerPoint, but this is inclusion left. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Gertrude. Thank you, thank you. I am quite sure that we have all learned so much from this very educative, insightful, straight to the point presentation. Thank you. And, I'll perhaps just ask one question, and then I'll leave the floor open. Then colleagues who would also want to ask questions, then are able to ask them. And I'm asking this, if civil society organization listening today feels inspired and wants to have a much more deeper conversation, is the Federation to such discussions? That would be my question. And then colleagues, please, if you want to ask a question, kindly unmute your microphone or show by hand, and then use the hand gesture. Then I will come to you, and then you're able to ask your question. Thank you. So we take about 2-3 questions, and then we will go back to Madam Gertrude for some response. Anesi, Williston, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Yeah, my question, actually first, I wanted to add to the models of disability, the social model. I just wanted to add a bit to it because I believe when we understand it better, then including people really comes very easy. The social model, simply, as Ms. Gertrude said, it's about, the way we don't see disability as an issue of the individual. Rather, it is the way society has been organized or structured. That is what excludes me and creates that barrier and handicap for a person with impairment to be able to do what they want to do in society. That means that the moment these barriers are taken out, it makes things very easy for everybody, most importantly, disabled people, to participate in society. So if we have that at heart, we always would look at how we can eliminate such boundaries to make everybody have an easy access to whatever we are doing. That is what the bit I wanted to add to the social model. My question is, she talked about policy implementation and practice, and for businesses, how do they, I know this is for CSOs, but some of us, like my organization, for instance, we work with businesses, multinational corporations and other businesses to train them in inclusion and diversity. How do they include such policies? Now, my campaign, I have the campaign this year that is about bringing disabled people into the workplace. I have seen, as she rightly mentioned in the statistics, that there are a lot of people, disabled people who are not really well captured. But when it comes to education, some don't even have the education to get the jobs, even though the corporate social responsibilities of these MNCs are open to look at employing disabled people, them in gaining such access to these organizations to improve our employment statistics. Thank you.
Thank you, Anesi. Thank you for your contribution. I think your question is noted. Please, colleagues, any other question? This is not supposed to be, I know names, I know people, I may be tempted to call names. So please unmute and ask a question. John Menfo, please go ahead with your question.
Thank you very much, Madam Gertrude. Congrats. It's a nice presentation. So insightful. My question is that, do we have any long-term national strategy in removing social barriers to ensure inclusion? And if not, is there anything that we can do to push it? And is it necessary at all? Thank you. These are my questions.
Thank you, John. So, colleague, we'll go back to Madam Gertrude. So there are 3 questions. Then, once she answers, at Ebenezer, we will come back to you. So, Madam Gertrude, please, if you can attempt an answer to the 3 questions that have come. Thank you. I'm not sure if she's hearing us. While she comes on, Ebenezer, please go ahead with your question.
Hello, you are not hearing me?
No, we're not hearing you, but we hear you now.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. So, yes, to the question of whether how GFD has insight to build awareness, further awareness of civil society organizations, I said the answer is no and yes. No, in the sense that we have not put together a model down, but we have linkages. And so we also have some of our partners who already have model, because we usually tailor it to the need of the person who requested. So when the requests come, either we will tailor it to your need, or we will also give you pointers to other models that are available. So yes. Then thank you, my sister, for elaborating the issues around a social model. Yes, I can agree with you the more. And to the question of the private sector, so what the GFD does, GFD is an advocacy organization, and ideally, GFD is not supposed to particularly do programs, but because we don't understand the situation very well, and when we advocate, such as for employment, then the state or the private sector or the civil society say, how can a person with disability work? Eh? Do you, yes, but you're talking to me about something in Europe. Have you tried in Ghana before? Because of that, we have programs that demonstrate for us to get evidence to back some of our advocacy. So we have an employment program. And this program, for instance, we partner private sector. So we have a long-standing relationship with Standard Chartered Bank. We have a long relationship with the group of private sector. Oh, the name must come. But yes, we have initiatives. And then we also look at the informal sector. by working with our districts and regional branches in the issues of the general common fund from the district assembly, and sometimes we even go further by training. In terms of what provisions are there to support private sector in order to open the doors for more open market jobs, we are working on it. And if you all support us in the advocacy for the new bill, the new act to revise act to come, we'll find provisions, and we hope it's not going to be one of the acts that we lay on desk like the previous one, that will really be implemented. Mr. Mafo, I'm trying to remember the question now. What was the question about? Mr. Mafo, can you please remind me of your question?
Yeah, Madam Gertrude, my question was that, do we have any national, long-term national strategies in removing social barriers to allow inclusion? When I say long-term strategy, I'm looking at where not only GFD, but we have the political figures backing, the authorities backing, all stakeholders accepting one document as a working something to ensure removal of social barriers to include persons with disability in all spheres of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mafo. So for that kind of comprehensive inclusive strategy that you have described, we don't have. What is happening is our advocacy is yielding some results, such as being included in the National Planning Commission's new strategy that is being planned for the next 5 years. We have elements of inclusion in there. But I must say that the time and the extent of inclusion would have loved we had more time to work on that kind of initiative. But at least it's a beginning, and we need to continue that. And we encourage our CSO partners to do more of that with us. Thank you. Yes, moderator, back to you, please.
Madam Gertrude. Ebenezer, I see your hand is down. Do you still want to ask your question, or by way of the responses, has your question already been answered?
Okay, I can ask the question.
Please go on.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, very wonderful presentation. So my question is to be clear whether there has been some level of analysis or survey to assess the effectiveness of the implementation of the Person with Disability Act. Actually looking at it from the angle of inclusiveness, participation, empowerment, and encouragement of the person with disability to be part of the system. And then two, looking at the structures and the systems that are supposed to be put in place and strengthened to be able to help improve the participation and inclusiveness of persons with disability. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. Ebenezer, please go on.
Thank you so much for this insightful presentation. We do appreciate, of course. My name is Adams Ebenezer. I'm the Executive Director for Stroke Association Support Network Ghana. Of course, with the models, I actually want to speak to the models. With the models, as an organization working with people with stroke, especially, you are aware that stroke is the second cause of disability globally and especially in Ghana. But of course, a little was said about your model concerned with, of course, rehabilitation and integration program for persons with disability. I don't know, maybe I missed that part, but I want to suggest that, of course, is there room to include rehabilitation integration for persons with disability? Because seeing that we've engaged a number of people with stroke. You know, stroke, we have long-term, short-term disability, of which we do believe from evidence-based research that, of course, a lot of people do recover. But of course, as it stands now, we did not see such model or such program from your end. So if you can actually clarify that or give a little light, throw a little light on this for me, I will appreciate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adams. Any question?
Yes, yes, sir, Mr. Moderator. I'm calling, but let me first of all apologize for the background noise at my end. And there's some construction work going in my building, so forgive me for that. I hope my audio will be clear enough for answers.
Go on,
so yes, that is a nice presentation, but my difficulty has to do with the willingness of GFD to support organizations that are willing to onboard issues of inclusion. Now, some of the organizations like my own are not looking at inclusion as a project, because when you see inclusion as a project, it looks like a project has a starting time and then an end date. So when it's over and it's over, so we look at it as a drive and an initiative which could go a long way. And she rightly mentioned that the GFD is willing to support all organizations who are trying to formulate a policy or in one way or the other. My humble question is, so when you look at some of the organizations under GFD, actually, when you are in partnership with them or when you are dealing with them, communications becomes sort of a challenge. So this, I mean, when you send out mails or you reach out, they find it difficult or reluctant to respond to some of these calls, which makes it very difficult for other organizations who are willing to draw insights from the said organizations problematic. Do we have any structures to, I mean, ensure member organization of the GFD to be apt and doing with organizations that are willing and have reached out to them to help them or partner them in driving the inclusion initiative? My second question would have to do with the LI and then the Disability Act and the LI. Somewhere last year, we heard that the government has constituted a committee to have a look at the LI and the Act again. And so I want to find out, where do we stand? Where is it? And how do we intend to get this passed? Because sometimes, you know, there is this benefit that are granted private sector organizations when they onboard persons with disability in the organization as workers. But sometimes those provisions are not obeyed, and they will tell you that, oh, the act is even under review, so wait until it is done or something. And some of them are not done at all. So I'm asking to know, how long are we to wait for this LI to be passed, and where actually do we stand in this? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Collins. We will take the next question from Miriam, and then I see Nanesi's hand is up again.
I'm already forgetting them. Unfortunately, my braille note has also failed me, so I'm not taking notes of the questions.
Okay, so I'm taking notes of the question, so I can support when it comes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we take Miriam's question, Nanesi's question, and we go back to Madam Gertrude. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I just had a question about the Leave No One Behind agenda with the SDGs, and I was curious about your reflections on how you've seen that being taken up in Ghana, and what are some of the pros and some of the challenges with the Leave No One Behind agenda under the SDGs. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. Nanesi.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm back. My question has got to do with, like, it's a follow-up actually to the question before Miriam's. I had an encounter in one of the municipal assemblies where this they said I can mention them. One of the CSOs, which is I've forgotten their name, but they were doing a project on creating awareness and teaching the disabled people's groups enter the extractive sector, because there was a lot of unity where one of the municipal assemblies was very resistant, to the point told the members that not to show up for the training. So the organization left Volta region whole, drove all the way to the West Coast and up to that municipal assembly, and there was no show, not even one person showed up. So these are organizations, CSOs, trying to, work with GFD to help disabled people. And there is always, in that particular area, there is always this power struggle and, people wanting their position and only God knows what. And this affects a lot of people, especially when it comes to employment and education. When such issues are encountered, how should organizations go about it? How should there be any form of reporting? How should it be like? And how do we follow up to know the outcome of such reports? Because we reported to the regional GFD office, and till date, we didn't hear anything. We even heard that chairman doesn't even talk to the regional chair. So if we, the people of GFD, are not very united, even if we talk to the CSOs, I don't think that they can help us make much impact. So I want to know what should be done in such a situation next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. So, Madam Gertrude, with respect to the questions, Louise wanted to know if there has been any survey done on the implementation of the Person with Disability Law. So it was a question around a survey or empirical research done to support advocacy.
Thank you very much. In terms of empirical evidence and surveys or large studies, it's only a state who can do it. But in terms of part of it, targeted activities, GFD and partners have done some. So you see, one thing that I would want to emphasize is that if the Ghana government is doing what it ought to do, none of us would have had a business. There is is for states. We as EFD is doing, but we can't do it alone. So that we are calling CSOs help us with the advocacy, or can do a research on that we need to use. Thank you.
Thank you. Second,
please go on.
The question was from Ad Adams, and he was raising an issue around the social model, and if consideration can be made to the issue of rehabilitation on that, specifically talking about people who, due to stroke, momentarily or permanently become persons with disability, living with disability.
Thank you very much, Adams. The models we are discussing here are not programs. They are phenomenal understanding that people use as approaches to understanding disability. So I wasn't referring to programs, whether it is rehabilitation or it is educate. No, I was saying that there are some people who think that the disability is my fault or the person who has stroke's fault. So you just fix the problem. But we are saying that the social model, it's saying that it is not my fault. It is the impediment you have put in the way that is causing me. But in terms of programs, GFD is an advocacy organization. So if the advocacy were going on well without the needed evidence, just as somebody was asking, is there empirical evidence on a survey on the implementation of the act, we would not have done any programs at all. We don't do programs. The programs we do are just selected to raise evidence to back. But in the advocacy, rehabilitation is in there, healthcare is in there, education, everything. And currently we are on one advocacy looking at barriers to the hospitals that are existing, and advocacy that the new hospitals that President promised will not have the barriers that it has. So what we want to is to generate the some hospitals. So we say, you know what, this is what the issue is. We're doing that to GFD in collaboration with Ghana Sowebi Jumedi Project and Site Service and the option, and we will work on that and bring it so that you all help us to influence for change. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question was on GFD's, the possibility of GFD supporting organizations take on the issue of inclusion more at the organizational level and not necessarily at more like a programmatic level. So if my organization wants to know how we can take on the issues of inclusion and make it part of our organizational culture, is the GFD willing to work with such an organization in doing so?
Yes, thank you. GFD is willing to, and GFD is willing to offer technical support or linkages, because we are a very small, I mean, in terms of large, we are large because of our 9 members, but the Secretariat of GFD itself is small with very few members of staff. But our organizations are available and our partners are also available. So if it's not financial support that is being looked for, but technical support, even when it delays, there is a way. Thank you.
Thank you. The next 2 questions were on the LI and where we are now.
Thank you. The person introduced the issue very well. The government established a committee or a task force working on it. So government is doing the work. GFD is following with the advocate. Even as we are talking now, there is a program going on right now that I ought to have been there as well, but I gave priority to this, discussing where are we with the bill, what can we do to get it passed better. But it's not somebody, you are part of the advocacy, so please do help and come on board. You don't come on board in necessarily coming to GFD office, your MP, your DCE, the civil society out in the place, they all have networks that can influence the process. So we are still where we were December 2020, and we are seeking to know the process with the National Council of Persons with Disabilities and the ministry, our mother ministry, to see how we can push the agenda, but we haven't gone far yet. We hope together with you, we'll get there.
And Miriam wanted to know what your reflections on the Leave No One Behind mantra is. Do you think, how is that being taken on in Ghana from your perspective?
Hmm. You know, when we haven't had full inclusion, and it's true that you can agree with me that there's nothing have been achieved over the period, to be honest. It's just that it's slow. So for instance, if we look at the work on inequality that civil society and the SDG team worked on, highlighting the issues. If you look at the Leave No One Behind program of GFD with its partners, and isolated and collaborated efforts here and there, even site service also has some, then we'll say that nothing is, it's not like everything is lost, but there's still work ahead. That's where we are discussing today. There's still work ahead, and it's honest. It's the truth that not everybody is on board. So together we need to continue. But those who funded, those who invested their time, those who invested their knowledge, it has not been a waste. No. Some success have been chalked, but it haven't gone far yet. We need more to do. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a question from Kugwega. Sorry if I massacred your name. And please.
Right. Thank you. The name is Kokwiga. And hello, everyone. I'm Kokwiga from Gomedupe, an NGO in the Volta region. Now to answer or add to what Nana A.C. Williams mentioned earlier, I think what she said is quite true, because I'm in the Volta region. I live there. At the moment, I'm in Accra. I live there. I'm a Queen Regent at the Southern Volta, that's Angra Piadenigba. And I've actually come across partner NGOs who are going through similar situation. And they come to me and they narrate whatever it is that they are going through. And what I would say is, yeah, it's true, there's this power struggle. And also if the people or maybe the leaders of that community do not like you or your family, it's easy for them to convince the community to not attend a program or a training that is meant to benefit and actually develop them. What I have been doing is, okay, so there's this instance where an NGO had to abandon their project and leave the community. So there's this new NGO. There's this new NGO coming up, and I have decided to support this lady, and she's actually a disabled lady. And I have been supporting her financially to start up this whole organization and all that. And I think to answer her question, she asked what she could do or other organizations going through similar problems could do about that. What I think you should do is to go through an authority, probably a traditional authority or a stakeholder in the community, someone that people trust, but then has also the welfare of the community at heart. I think building a relationship with such person would be good. And also that person would be able to help you communicate better and rally the people around for you to not have the troubles that we are talking about now. So I guess it's to say that if you can literally go through Queen Mothers like myself and other Queen Mothers who also have initiatives and on their minds. Mind you, most of them are not educated, formal education, and they all want to do something good for their communities, just that they are limited because of education. So you can go through that medium as well, or probably the DC or the local authorities, and then you take it from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your contribution. So are there any questions in the chat box? Let me see. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat box. Yes, I've seen questions around the recording. Yes, the recording of the session will be shared. We'll also share the, with permission, the presentation as Madam Gertrude made. But I wanted just to hear some CSO voices. What have we been doing so far with respect to inclusion, and how has this webinar session perhaps validated what we've been doing or introduced new things for our consideration? Just to hear some participant voices. So not necessarily a question, but contributions with respect to what we've been doing and how this will either reinforce or spur us on to explore new areas. I know we all buy into the leave no one behind mantra and inclusiveness and all that. But I just want to hear some civil society voices. So I don't want to call names, but please just unmute and share some perspectives. Areas perhaps you are building programming around for advocacy, you will require some broader support or broader collaboration. This will be the good time to talk. So Joshua, I see Joshua's hand up. Joshua, if you can talk, and then I'll come back to Nane.
Okay, thank you, Kojo, for this opportunity. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I am Joshua Ayayi. I'm the Volta Regional Head for the PLO Lumumba Foundation Ghana chapter. And I've also been volunteering with a disability organization in Ho. That's the New Horizon Foundation of the Blind. And for the past 2 years, what we've done is to build a rehabilitation center along with an accommodation facility that can take up to 40 people. That's 20 for boys, 20 for girls, at the Hukpoji EP Basic B School. And this came as a result of a collaboration between ourselves, Hukpoji EP, and then the Ghana Education Service. So before even the start of the building the facility, we approached the GES. So they were actually involved every step of the way, and they promised to come take over as soon as we finish. But for 2 years now, we have been managing the facility on our own. Granted, GES was able to send a special education teacher to the Hukpoji EP Basic B School. So he's the one heading the rehabilitation there. But aside from that, we secure the services of other people in the special education area. We have the cook, we have the house mistress, and all these people are being paid by the organization. We are literally going out and seeking for funding for their feeding. And this was something that we actually promised that by the time we finish, GES would have also made arrangement to extend the school feeding program to us. In fact, the Volta Regional Director for Special Education is part of our board, that's the school management board, and has written several letters to the Director General of Special Education in Accra. But we've not seen any concrete steps. She came in 2020 to inspect the place, spent just about 15 minutes in the area. But since then, we've not had any concrete proof or assurance from that office. And so this is what we are going through, just to brief you of what we are doing. We'll be happy if we can use this platform to send a message that we want them to come, because we want to be able to replicate this in all other hotspots. We are dealing with persons with visual impairment. If this can be successful, then we can then extend to persons with hearing impairment and all the other cross disabilities also. So if we can collaborate with GFD on this too as well, fine. I mean, we are open to it.
Thank you, Joshua. Just to add that, as Madam Gertrude mentioned, GFD is willing to provide technical support and assistance. My admonition to colleague CSO organizations and members here will be that in our programming, in our organizational development, as and when issues of inclusion and disability are concerned, perhaps we reach out to the GFD long in advance so they are able to really support, and we do not leave it to the very last minute and then reach out to them and expect them to respond to us within a short turnaround time. There are some questions in the chat box. One has to do with, says, what will the GFD do to help women with disability join the trade union to make impact in their economic activities? I will leave this. If there are, my sense of it would be, perhaps after this meeting, if you are able to pick up the contact details, reach out to the GFD, so then they can specifically, we can have much more detailed discussion, and I'm sure they will be able to direct you to the appropriate contact persons depending on districts and region. I'm mindful of our time, and so I would want to, on behalf of the co-chairs and the steering committee of the Ghana Civil Society Organizations platform on the SDGs, say a very, very big thank you to the Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations for agreeing to do this, and to say that thank you so much. I am quite sure this is just a teaser. We will perhaps come back to you to see which other areas of advocacy, which other areas of importance that the platform collaborating with you will be able to take on. I know 2 years ago, during the platform 10 worked with the Federation to do some national advocacy. So we will be in touch. Our doors are always open. Now I feel guilty, but feel guilty in a good way, because the first 2 segments of the capacity building series we didn't have a sign language interpreter. So obviously we had left some of our potential participants not being part of our meeting. So now the challenge has been thrown to all of us in our webinar meetings, in our in-person meetings. I'm sure we have all appreciated the very good work that Jonathan in Team DACO has done. So we can reach out to the Federation, and they will gladly lead us and link us to people or persons who will be able to provide sign language interpretation for our colleagues who would require their services to be able to participate. So, Madam Gertrude, I will give you the floor if there are any remarks you want to make. And I see Kwame Mensah is here. He hasn't spoken. I saw Madam Rita along the line, also part of us. She also hasn't spoken. I'll leave the next 3 minutes. If anyone from the Federation wants to make any closing remarks, I'll give you the floor to do so. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Please, we can hear you, sir. Kwame.
Hello.
Kwame, we can hear you, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please. Priscilla, if you are close to Kwame, let him know we can hear him.
Hello.
I mean, we can hear you.
Okay, Koyo, thank you. I'd like to use this opportunity to thank the SDG platform for this initiative that seeks to bring everybody in the NGO world together for us to have various topics discuss and learn from each other. As I always indicate, issue about disability is not just for persons with disability, but even for persons without disability, because at any point in time, one can be disabled due to certain circumstances beyond our control. And for that matter, when it comes to advocating for on behalf and with persons with disability for issues on disability, then it should be of interest to everybody. Aside the personal aspects, issue about disability has now become a global agenda which happens or appears in every development document, right from the SDG documents to national level documents. Even in the Constitution, it is specifically stated the provision of adequate infrastructure or policies that will promote the inclusion of persons with disability in the development sector. Then we come to the various disability policies and the laws and regulations that support. If you look at the various development policies like the midterm evaluation, development agenda that is being developed by NCPD, you will notice that issue about disability features in there. So disability now becomes a policy issue, which gives room for CSOs in other sectors to hang on and use it as an initiative, because now we've talked about various forms, dealing with women, dealing with children, but disability issues is also another angle that you can be looking out for. So if even you are a CSO in women, working with women, you can be looking at women with disability. If you are working on children, you can be looking at children with disability. Even if you are working in the prisons, we have persons with disability who, for one reason or the other, had been jailed for various offenses or crimes. You can be looking at persons with disability in the prison arena. And even if you are dealing with justice, you can be looking at supporting persons with disability to access justice. So issue about disability cut across. This is just the first series of this engagement, as Kojo said, to bring to light issue about disability and how we can integrate it in our various programs and development as we move on. So for GFD, we are always open, our doors are always open to receive anybody who will seek our professional advice, who would like to collaborate with us in any form or anyhow, so far as it is about an initiative that promotes persons with disability. I would like to use this opportunity to thank my board member, Auntie Gertrude, for that wonderful presentation and responding to the comments. I will share with you, as we have on the screen, our contact and our location. So if you are interested, you could take the contacts and write to us or give us a call, and we will respond to you in the shortest possible time. Thank you all for making time to listen to us.
Thank you, Kwame. Thank you, everyone.
Before we end, I think, Kwame, it's also good we share our PowerPoint.
Yes, please.
Yes.
So
my final comment would be that disability inclusion is cheaper, and it has science said that its process says it's just about 1% if we do it from the beginning as a universal approach than to wait to be a second thought. And then it's like it's too expensive. So please come to us. We'll work with you and it will be possible and flexible. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Gertrude. As I initially mentioned, Madam Gertrude is the Global Advocacy Advisor she's a Global Advocacy Advisor on Social Inclusion for Site Savers. She's a member of the United Nations Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disability. She's the president for the International Council for Education of Persons with Visual Impairment. She's a board member of the Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations, and she's a commissioner for the World Council of Churches. And today we had the privilege of her presenting on disability inclusion for us. So thank you so much. We will share the recording of today's meeting, the presentation with participants. Please, if you did not register prior to this meeting, and perhaps you saw the link and you came in, I will kindly request that you leave your email in the chat box, so then we'll pick it and add it to the mailing list when we are sharing the details. The other option you could have access would be to also directly reach out to the GFD or to the CSO platform via email, and we will share with you. Thank you, and do have a pleasant afternoon. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kojo.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thanks for your education.
At least we had about, at a point in time, there were 51.